Ever feel like history is just dates and names?
Oh, yeah.
Well, today we're going behind the scenes.
Ooh, exciting.
We're going to be looking at some declassified CIA documents
Cool.
from 1958.
Wow.
It's like we're right there
Yeah.
in the middle of the Cold War.
Seeing how it all played out.
Yeah, watching those strategies unfold in real time.
That's cool.
So it's really not a polished textbook view, is it?
No, it's not like that at all. We're talking about the raw intelligence, the stuff that was actually shaping decisions at the highest levels.
Our main source for this deep dive is a document called Biweekly Propaganda Guidance,
Okay.
which is basically like, a cheat sheet
Right.
for the CIA,
Uh-huh.
outlining the global hotspots.
I see.
And how to manage the narrative.
Okay, so what were they worried about?
Yeah.
What were some of the big issues?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you a sense of what was keeping them up at night,
Yeah.
what they were prioritizing, their worries, even like their assumptions about how the world worked.
I like that.
Right off the bat, the document jumps into Marshal Tito's Asian tour.
Tito.
Yeah, in December 1958.
Okay.
And the CIA seems like fixated
Really?
on Tito's image, like really carefully crafted image,
Interesting.
pushing this whole idea of Yugoslavia as a third force.
Oh, yeah.
So separate from both the U.S. and the USSR.
The non-aligned movement.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is all about, that competition for influence
Yeah.
among all these nations that didn't want to pick a side during the Cold War. Both superpowers obviously wanted them in their camp. And Tito, well,
He was a master at playing this game.
he was, yeah.
The document specifically mentions his visits to Egypt,
Right.
Indonesia, Ethiopia, and Burma.
Hmm.
Not exactly like random vacation spots, right?
Not at all. I mean, each of those locations held strategic importance. Think about it. Egypt with the Suez Canal.
Right.
Indonesia, the most populous Muslim nation at the time. Ethiopia, a key player in the Horn of Africa. And Burma, bordering a communist China.
Yeah.
So Tito, strolling through all these places,
Yeah.
sends a very powerful message.
Yeah, so he's not just like, shaking hands and taking pictures.
He's
making a
moving power.
statement.
He's working it, yeah.
It makes you think.
Yeah.
Was Tito truly independent, or was he, playing both sides to his advantage?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Honestly. I mean, historians still debate this.
Yeah.
But you can see why the CIA was so interested in Tito's every move. He represented this possibility of a bloc
Right.
that wasn't aligned with either superpower. From the American perspective, a truly independent third force could really limit Soviet influence.
Right. Throws a wrench
Right.
into the whole Cold War chessboard.
Exactly.
Okay, so this next part.
Yeah.
This is where things get a little mysterious.
Ooh.
The document, it mentions Chinese military communications.
Okay.
But it's heavily redacted.
Oh.
Like a lot of it's blacked out. The only clue we get is that a major source was providing intel.
Interesting.
So what kind of information you think they were after?
Well, you have to look at the historical context, right? So 1958, tensions with China were high. The CIA was most likely interested in anything that could shed light on Chinese military capabilities
Right.
and intentions.
Yeah.
Troop movements would be, high on the list.
Yeah.
Maybe even whispers of new technology.
Right.
Possibly information on internal power struggles
Right.
within the Communist Party.
Wow.
Right.
Imagine being a CIA analyst back then,
Yeah.
trying to piece this puzzle together with these bits and pieces of information.
Right.
It's like a high stakes game.
It is. High stakes.
Okay, switching gears for a moment.
Okay.
The document highlights something that, at first glance seems pretty ordinary.
Yeah.
Nile water politics.
Okay.
How was the CIA interested in this?
Water.
Yeah.
It may seem mundane, but, it's vital,
Yeah.
especially in that region.
Yeah.
And during the Cold War, even something like a water dispute
Right.
could become a flashpoint
Yeah.
for superpower rivalry.
So how does this Nile situation fit into that?
Well, Egypt was planning the Aswan Dam, this massive project, right, to control the Nile's flow. Sudan and Ethiopia, both upstream.
Right.
They were wary of this.
Yeah.
They feared, Egypt would gain too much control over the river,
Right.
impacting their own water access. And, well, guess who was backing Egypt?
The Soviets.
Exactly.
Right.
Soviet backing turned a regional water dispute into a proxy conflict. And to make things even more interesting, the document also mentions a coup in Sudan.
Hold on. So now we have a coup, which is like a major event on its own.
Right.
Tangled up in this bigger web of superpower rivalry.
Yeah.
It's almost like, every event, no matter how local,
Right.
could be seen through this Cold War lens.
Precisely. And you could see why the CIA was paying such close attention.
Yeah.
These seemingly isolated events could have ripple effects
Right.
Across the globe.
Yeah, it really is a reminder of like how interconnected everything was during the Cold War. You have this Bada dispute, like in Africa,
Right.
a coup in Sudan,
Yeah.
and suddenly the superpowers are involved.
That's crazy.
It's like a chain reaction. Okay, moving on.
Sure.
The document, it next focuses on Poland
Okay.
and Gomulka's visit to Moscow.
Interesting.
It seems like the CIA saw this as a sign of Poland,
Mm-hmm.
getting cozy with the Soviets again.
Yeah. I mean, remember, Poland was in kind of a tricky spot
Yeah,
under Soviet control as
Yeah.
part of the Eastern Bloc.
right.
But the Polish people, they had this strong sense of national identity, and they weren't always happy with, the Soviets calling the shots.
Yeah.
Gomulka was walking a tightrope.
So what was the CIA worried about, like, specifically?
Well, they were concerned about Gomulka potentially cracking down on internal dissent,
Right.
basically tightening the reins with Soviet support. The document even predicts the U.S. response, cutting aid to Poland.
Ah, so aid was a tool,
Absolutely.
a way to exert pressure.
It was a classic Cold War tactic, You reward the countries that align with you,
Right.
and you punish those that stray.
Okay, last but not least, we come to the Geneva Talks
Okay.
on nuclear testing.
Right.
The document stresses that inspection is like the West's top priority.
Makes sense.
It's not just stopping the test, but making sure, everyone's playing by the rules. Why was that so important?
Well, imagine you're negotiating a nuclear test ban treaty, right?
Okay.
On the surface, everyone agrees it's a good thing to stop testing.
Yeah.
Sounds simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But how do you actually know the other side is keeping their word?
That's where inspection comes in.
Exactly.
Right.
Without verification, a treaty's just words on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And during the Cold War,
Mm-hmm.
I went to trust between the superpowers. Well, there was very little of it.
So the CIA is basically saying, like, don't just take their word for it. We need to see for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating how this whole issue of trust,
Yeah.
or rather the lack of it,
Mm-hmm.
just permeates everything in the Cold War.
It's a key theme. I mean, it runs through this whole document. And honestly, it's still relevant today. Think about current challenges like nuclear proliferation
Right.
or climate change.
Yeah.
It's all about, trying to build trust,
Yeah.
establish mechanisms for cooperation
Right.
in a world where countries often have competing interests.
It makes you realize those Cold War anxieties weren't just like paranoia.
Right.
They were rooted in like the very real challenges of navigating, international relations.
Exactly.
Especially when the stakes are so high.
And this document,
Yeah.
with its focus on propaganda and intelligence gathering, it shows us how both sides were trying to manage those challenges, using information as a weapon.
So it's not just about spreading like lies.
Right.
It's about shaping the narrative, right?
It is.
Controlling what people see and believe.
It's about influence, trying to, get the upper hand in a global struggle
Right.
for power and dominance.
It's incredible how this document like connects the dots between, what seem like totally unrelated events, Tito's Asian tour,
Right.
the Nile water issue, Gomulka's visit to Moscow,
Yeah.
the Geneva Talks.
Yeah.
It like weaves them all together
It does.
into this coherent narrative about Soviet expansionism and the need for Western vigilance.
It's a masterclass in framing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It shows how even factual information can be presented in a way that
Right.
reinforces a particular worldview
Yeah.
or agenda.
It makes you wonder
Right.
how much of what we know about the Cold War has been, shaped by these kinds of propaganda efforts. How do we even separate fact from fiction
Yeah.
where the historical record itself is, so contested?
That is the question.
Yeah.
It's why critical thinking is so important.
Right.
We have to look at these sources with a discerning eye.
Yeah.
Ask ourselves, who created this document?
Right.
What was their purpose? What biases might they have?
It's like we're
Yeah.
we're detectives trying to like piece together this
Right.
complex puzzle, and we have these fragments of information, often from conflicting perspectives,
Right.
And we're constantly trying to figure out what really happened.
And sometimes
Yeah.
the most intriguing pieces
Uh-huh.
are the ones that are missing,
Yeah.
the gaps in our knowledge
Right.
that spark our curiosity and drive us to, dig deeper.
It's like you said, those missing pieces are the most fascinating.
They really are. And, that's what keeps history alive. It's not, just a static collection of facts. It's a conversation that continues, a mystery that unfolds, with every new discovery.
And this one document, it really has, opened my eyes to the complexities of the Cold War.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just about good guys and bad guys. It's so much more nuanced than that.
Right. It really challenges those simplistic narratives.
Yeah.
What really strikes me is how this document reveals those shades of gray.
Right.
The competing motivations, the unintended consequences that often, ripple out from even the most carefully laid plans.
Yeah. This single document, it's given us this glimpse into all of that.
It has.
It makes you think, what other stories are hidden away in those classified archives?
Right.
Just waiting to be uncovered.
Yeah, I know. That's what's so exciting about historical research. You never know what you might find. I mean, our understanding of the past is constantly evolving. As new evidence emerges, new perspectives are offered.
Right.
And, with each new discovery, we just get a clearer picture of how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, it really is like piecing together this, giant puzzle.
It is.
Every document, every memoir, every personal account, it just adds another piece to the picture.
Another piece to the puzzle, yeah.
And sometimes it's those missing pieces, those gaps in our knowledge that are the most intriguing.
They really are.
Yeah.
It's true. And, those gaps,
they
make you ask the most interesting questions. They force you to dig deeper.
Right.
Challenge your assumptions.
So for our listeners who are now totally hooked on Cold War intrigue,
right,
what would you suggest? Where
good question.
Can they go to explore further?
Well, the CIA itself
Yeah.
has a fantastic resource online, believe it or not. It's called the FOA Reading Room.
Oh, wow.
That's where they make all these declassified documents
really
publicly available.
So you can just browse through these documents online?
You can. It's incredible. You can search by topic, date, keyword. I mean,
wow.
It's a gold mine. For anyone fascinated by history, espionage,
right,
or just, wants to understand the forces that shape our world.
That's amazing. You could be sitting at home sipping your coffee
right,
and, stumble across a document that completely changes your understanding of a historical event.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It really does. And, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Historical research, it's an adventure. You never know what you're going to find around the next corner.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree.
This deep dive has been fantastic.
It has.
It's a reminder that, history is so much more than dates and names. It's a living narrative.
It is.
Full of intrigue and drama and lessons that still resonate with us today.
Absolutely. And it's a story we're all a part of.
Right.
Whether we realize it or not, we're shaped by the events of the past and our actions today.
Right.
Well, they shape the future.
So to our listeners, I say this. Don't be afraid to, dig deeper.
Right.
Question what you think, and explore those hidden corners of history. You never know what you might find.
Exactly.
And you might just discover a new passion along the way.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe you'll uncover a few secrets of your own.